Hello and a very warm welcome to the Hidden Door live show. Joining me here at the top of a very windy Calton Hill tonight. And I'm going to be bringing you a show where we're going to be trying to answer the question of what do we think we can actually do in 2021. Now, hopefully you're watching the show tonight. You could actually be watching NASA trying to land a robot on the surface of the planet Mars. And you might well be thinking, surely that's a bit more of a technical accomplishment. But to be honest, to bring you this live show tonight, it's just about as technically ambitious as it is to land a robot on the surface of Mars. So maybe you could watch both and you can weigh it up for yourselves. But tonight, in order to kind of try and discuss what we might be trying to do later on this year, I'm going to be joined with Hidden Door co-conspirator Hazel Johnson, who together we're going to be discussing what it means to try and bring live events back and some of the challenges and problems that we have to solve in order to do that. But don't worry, it's not all going to be business. We're also going to be bringing you some beautiful live music courtesy of Edinburgh, amazing, talented singer-songwriter Hamish Hawk. And we're going to be bringing you some live spoken word on location from Edinburgh poet Catherine Wilson. So plenty to look forward to. But first, you must be wondering, why am I up here on top of Calton Hill? Have I lost my keys? Am I locked out my flat? Am I just wandering around the bushes looking for some nefarious activity to join in with? Hopefully not. I'm actually here because Calton Hill is an example of the sort of place that we are kind of looking at and considering for a venue for later on this year. Hidden Door is kind of known for finding interesting spaces and places around the city and kind of transforming them creatively and imaginatively into venues to do all sorts of arts adventures in. And, we had a lot of plans, but with the crippling uncertainty that we've been kind of left with for this year, we have had to take the decision without really knowing what we may or may not be allowed to do and when we'd be allowed to do it. In order to get anywhere, we've decided that if we're going to do anything at all in 2021, we're going to have to take it outdoors. We've decided that we're going to be looking at outdoor space, and we're in the middle of a search for spaces that might work best for Hidden Door. We're calling this Venue Hunt 21, and we're looking for 21 so we might be able to use in 2021. Now, you might be hearing a lot of wind interference, and I'm really sorry about that if you are. We'll try and battle through it as best we can. It's one of the difficulties of doing a live show in the middle of a lockdown. We decided that rather than go back to a kind of living room based format, we wanted to get out on location, but this is just some of the difficulties that we have. Bear with us as we do that. I will be talking a little bit more about the venue hunt as we go through the programme, and we'd love to know what you think about what I think you might have looking at. Before we do that, I think it'd be good to start with a little bit of live music. So I'm really pleased to be able to bring you performance by such an amazing talent, an Edinburgh-based songwriter who's making a real splash at the moment. You might have heard him on Six Music recently with his new material, but Hamish Hawk is now going to be singing for us his first song tonight. Please, please, please let me get what I want by the Smiths. Take it away, Hamish.
Good times for a change. See, the luck I've had can make a good man turn bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want this time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. See, the life I've had can make a good man bad. So for once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Haven't had a dream in a long time. See, the life I've had can make a good man bad. So please, 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 let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. Lord knows it would be the first time.
So thank you so much, Hamish. We're going to chat with him a little bit later and hear his thoughts about his new material. But before that, I wanted to kind of dive into the venue hunt just a little bit more. You might have seen things popping up on social media and noticed that me and the Hidden Door team have been kind of going around doing little reports on some of the possible venues that we're considering for this year. Because of everything, we decided that we wanted to start with a totally clean slate and consider almost as wide a range of possibilities of outdoor venues as we could. Some of those venues, we might be big enough, like perhaps here at top of Calton Hill, to host, a whole series of events, a whole festival program. But some of those venues might be quite small and just host a single performance as part of a range of venues and places peppered throughout the city. And that means that we're actually reconsidering the entire format of the festival for this year. Everything is on the table, but the most important thing is that we find a way amongst all this uncertainty that we can definitely. That's what we're committed to. So we started off by looking at the waters of Leith. Could we do something along the shores of the waters of Leith? We kind of then nipped out to some derelict hospital sites, thinking about could we use sites clustered around a set of disused buildings like you'd find in a derelict kind of hospital. We looked at Roslyn Lee Hospital. We also went out to East Fortune Hospital by the Museum of Flight. They're quite far out from the city centre though, and although they're really impressive sites for wander, we've considered venues that might act as an interesting or might have a really fascinating backdrop, like the chapel, Arthur's Seat, or the Granton Gasworks, that kind of industrial, spectacular space down there. We could thinking about using that. But one of the spaces that we thought might be really interesting is one that we made a couple of posts about earlier this week, and it's the old town closes and courtyards of Edinburgh. We thought it might be really interesting to get right into the heart of the city and use the kind of unique urban structure of Edinburgh Old Town to base our festival around. So we've actually got one of our Hidden Door team there tonight who should be on location. Vasilis, can you hear me?
David? Yes, I can hear you, David. Can you hear me?
Vasilis, I can hear you loud and clear. Is it windy where you are?
That's perfect. It comes and goes. It comes and goes.
Nice. Well, do you want to tell us where you are, Vasilis?
Yes, I'm at the bottom of the ladies' stairs close, which is right before the Makars court, which is where we're going just now.
Oh, great. Okay. Do you want to just go in and then just show us around a little bit, tell us a little bit about the space?
Yes, of course. So this building behind me, which is quite beautiful, actually, you're gonna be able to see it better just now once I get up here. So this building behind me is what used to be the lady stairs house, but now it is the Writers' Museum of Edinburgh. And on the ground here, maybe you won't be able to see it because of the dark, but engraved in the flagstones on the ground is famous quotes by Scottish writers and poets.
Okay, great. So you're in Makars court just now. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you could imagine the kind of courtyard being used for Hidden Door?
Well, it's quite a nice courtyard. It's big and square, So that gives us lots of wiggle room. Like, for example, where we just came in through, there could be a sort of gate or like an arch welcoming the visitors to the festival. There could be food stalls around here or there. Then there could be a little stage over here, maybe a larger one back there in the middle. There could be a very nice art installation using this very beautiful light post, which gives off a very nice, cozy atmosphere to the whole courtyard.
And Vasilis, can you imagine what the problems might be of using a space like that? What would be the challenges?
Yes, well, the biggest challenge is that this is a residential area, so we would have to think of opening hours and capacity of the venue and to, of course, keep all the volume levels down. But there's also another problem here that this courtyard is only accessible by stairs, which would make it not really accessible.
I see what you mean. And you've obviously had a look around some other closes and as well for a hunt. Are there any other ones that kind of pop out to you as being quite interesting?
Yes, one that stood out in my mind was Dunbar's Close, because it's like a Dunbar's Close Gardens, which is a series of 4 spaces right in the heart of the city, and they form a nice little oasis in all these buildings.
Oh, that sounds it sounds really good. It's got some really interesting kind of landscaped gardens there. So tell us a little bit more about your opinion of this spot that you're in right now. What do you like about it?
Well, as I said, I like the post and the light, the cozy atmosphere it gives off, but I also like the echo that you can hear very well in this courtyard, which would be really great for a spoken word performance. And as a matter of fact, we have today, behind me, just over there, Catherine Wilson. Catherine Wilson is a Scottish poet based in Edinburgh, and her work focuses on bringing stories in unfamiliar places or places that you wouldn't expect. So for me, I'll give you all to Catherine.
Oh, so hi, Catherine. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Thank you so much for coming out tonight and hanging around some dark alleyways for us. We really appreciate it. I suppose I was quite curious to ask you as a performer what you make of the courtyard as a sort of performance space.
I think it's really interesting in terms of a performance space because all you really need for your spoken word poet is kind of just space where someone will let you talk. What my partner always says to speaking of poet as well, is people just show up, all you need is like a pencil and a bit of paper. So, really any venue from that space is better than some other ones I have performed.
Okay, so Catherine, as someone who's performed in a lot of different kind of contexts and different kind of places, what do you think would make a good outdoor venue?
So tricky. The acoustics of Makars Court are really exciting, and I think there's also a really cool opportunity here in terms of being part of the fact that Makars Court is a living monument. There are, as was mentioned earlier, there's poetry engraved on some of the flags ground, and this is something that could continue to be added to. So I think for those reasons it's really exciting. In terms of what makes a good outdoor venue, as long as people can hear me and enjoy the show, I'm probably having a good time as well.
Okay, Catherine, I'm having a little bit of problem hearing you right now. There's quite a lot of wind obviously going on tonight. We've picked a night for it, so we'll just have to speak as clearly as possible if we can. I was interested if there were any spaces that had caught your attention or it could come to mind that you think might be good for a performance in Edinburgh.
I'm a fan of the art, and I live nearby. And near Harrison Park, there's actually an abandoned old. I think it used to be a railway. There's a lot of new parts. It's pretty gorgeous in terms of structure and the gorgeous architecture to do. So sometimes gorgeous or down the line, really interesting place to do what you're doing.
Okay, Catherine, that's great. I'm struggling to hear you a little bit. So I think what we'd like to do is move on to your performance tonight. Because of the audio, I'm wondering if it's possible, maybe if you move into, is there a different spot you could perhaps move into in the alleyway or something like that, perhaps?
Yeah.
Let's try it and see how we get on. Uh, yeah, and if you could maybe just, as you walk over to the lamppost, just tell us a little bit about what it is that you're going to do for us just now.
Yeah, so my plan for tonight is to do some poetry that has kind of been written during lockdown, during COVID-19. Some of them are a little bit of a cheat, but mostly they have come out of the last year and a bit of of living in lockdown and what that has been like, I think, for all of us, but especially in Scotland.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Well, let you just take it away from here.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah, so this first poem was written about those who are working for the Edinburgh Chapter, and it's called Hands. I am learning what my hands are capable of in a crisis. They can cradle a telephone, to call a friend who has not seen someone else for 2 weeks. They can write letters of support, make soup, cut bread, wash themselves for 20 seconds. If better trained, they could draw blood, put in an IV, ventilate 2 lungs, hold a family without touching. Better yet, they can still draw an X in a box to lift others up with the strength of numbers and digits. So I wrote that poem based on those of you working in the NHS and how we have to fight to protect the NHS, and also partly for my dad who is currently vaccinating people, not right now, off at night, but he's been vaccinating people literally for the last couple of weeks. So it was a great time. The next poem I have is based on the time I spent working at St Giles Cathedral. I worked there for about 6 months. And this is about people that I got to work with when I was there. And seeing as we're really quite close to St Giles, it felt really apt. Behind the welcome desk, one volunteer asked another to bring back some olive oil. Later, she reveals from her chip bowl a bottle, possibly yellow. Against the grey flagstones, passed it across over lunch, brought from so far away from our damp, cold desk above the wet welcome mat. I imagined her picking her way through the shops to find the ideal bottle for an old man she hardly knew, her hands testing the prices and sizes to strike the middle spot between embarrassment and disappointment. And I thought about him, curt in his war jacket, wiping Italian sunshine off his mustache, and how we often speak to each other in such quiet gestures we have to turn our backs from the magnitudes they contain, like the taste of olive oil that flew so many miles to a one-man flat in Lothian Road. This next poem is a bit of a shape because I didn't write it during lockdown, but it got published during lockdown by a company in Glasgow called Speculative Books. You can buy that if you're interested, but this is like my ode to people watching, which is one of those things I have really, really missed during lockdown. So I thought it's actually the perfect lockdown poem. It's really nostalgic. It's called Sonder, which means that kind of internal realization we have when we realize that everyone is, has the same kind of internal life as your own. Every time we walk down the streets, 1,000 lives buzz around our heads like honeybees, busily holding their lives. I share my streets with philosophers, builders, lawyers, runners, trombone players, tram conductors, women who want to be scientists when they grow up, the picture book writer who stamps inspiration into the pillow creases of small minds. I want to snap this crown in half and gift it to the sad faces pressed on the bus windows, or the young widows, or the elderly who still volunteer every Sunday, or the little girl who gets bullied at school for the way her front tooth refuses to fit in. I want to love these clumsy gods until my heart breaks, until I can't conjure up the words to do humanity justice, until the only skill I can write on my resume to explain all the gaps is people watching. 92 years. I am lucky enough to be watching the first stone dropped in the pond and see its ripple buzzing forever around my architecture. In the late night small talk of Memento Mori, of the first poem on the stage that stays long after the microphone has been switched off, in the quiet nights in, where love is soldered and burned so bright the light bulbs shatter off at what they have witnessed. I want to collect more stones, dash my pockets until I am heavy with possibility. Leave them next to graves instead of flowers that float away on the breeze, their persistence personally marking once they were here. They did this. Watch the sand shift around their existence from the barista who brews the excitement, to the bus driver who builds the schedules, to the students with two eyes on tomorrow, to the protesters with 2 fists at the past, to the musicians who spend no time practicing because they're too busy tuning songs into pitches, to the librarian who categorizes creation, to the teachers and nurses and call center workers. I want to see your unshakable joy. The faces you hit with your everyday miracles step through my front door, out into the unescapable sky, and know the world in safe hands. Okay. Next poem. This is a really recent poem. This is about being Scottish, and when you're Scottish, every now and then someone tells you they can't understand your accent. And the reason I picked this for tonight is I was thinking about all the poets who have their words carved on the ground here, and I was wondering how many times they were maybe told that they were ununderstandable, non-understandable. I'm not very understandable when I make up words like on hearing you read aloud, an English snark in the audience stated you were stuck in the mouthful of marbles, as if your tongue was bumping along the received way to speak. The hand-me-downs from your mother's West Coast lullabies were diagnosed as impediment. I wanted to kiss the stones from your mouth, swallow their dark vowels until their deep coolness cooled in my stomach, grounded me to the wet earth and salt. Instead, I held your silence. I held the weight of it. Okay, my last poem was a commission I received during last lockdown, during the summer. And what I did was I asked people from around the world who were living in lockdown to basically send me a photograph and a word that summed up what was keeping them joyful during the pandemic. And I received about 30 words from across the world. I turned them into a poem. This poem is going to be, there's a video of this poem which you can watch at the Sands Poetry Festival, which is going to happen in March. There'll be a little screen of it online. So do go and check it out. And this poem is called Home Found. If you look too closely, the world went static. Most mornings a rerun so overdone when I shut my eyes, I saw the tape wound back. A mid-March hush descended on the streets, crept its fingers across the window panes until I felt blanketed in impossibility. The only signs of life could be gathered through an errant crisp packet caught by the wind or aggressive curtain touch. So I went looking for joy, threw out my chest and flung myself headfirst into the possibility of bliss. I didn't know what it would look like and forced to be private behind guidelines, but there is a certain joy in silence. Suddenly erupted by wildlife as loud as trumpets. Seagulls so ready for sunrise they scream it into being, because when the world feels stuck, we know nature keeps growing, proving we never stand still. Give her space and time and she will show you the definition of progress. From window boxes to militant butterflies that expertly push against the breeze, nature interrupts us constantly. Grows through the concrete, as the deep-seated smell of rain on pavement drifts in with the droplets that drum on the roof above us. Do you think birds know how much we love them? That might sound like a stupid question because it probably is. But we have pinned enough hopes onto feathers to populate an apiary of great kiskidees and seagulls alike, standing feather to feather, soaring above us all in unchosen ignorance of the way we turn their territorial cries into a symbol of persistence, that we can still regrow, rewild, rebuild from figs to fish. There is a world beyond this pause. There are roots beneath the ground, connections hundreds of years old. And this is not some doomsday proclamation stating nature does not care and will be here long after us. It's to say that it's some joy in not being the centre of the universe, living alongside us. Certainly takes the pressure off us. If you sleep in or miss a deadline, the whales keep swimming, and isn't that reason enough to live? Grateful for a world beyond my doorstep, for my window offering a front row seat for the steady peace of an early morning quiet street, punctuated by bees bumping into the glass with greetings before heading off with pollen-heavy trousers to wherever they are needed. I have seen the creativity of humans reshuffling the poor hand we were given and winning. We put art on our windows, our streets, our homes, any canvas we could find. We left behind signs of life and love for others to discover, like an ongoing conversation, a scavenger hunt as wide as the road and as far as we could walk. It was big as our boundaries, whether it be the ones we chose or those we were born. We prayed our kitchen tables could be anything. A humble piece of flat wood sanded down to host the greatest exploits of our imagination. We found ways to keep making, keep sharing, keep talking. We spent hours learning the intricacies of webcams just to show someone how much we care. You can't hold hands to the internet. We found togetherness wasn't always limited by location. It can be found in the bottom of a warm mug, at the end of a phone, or free for 40 minutes. Some of us took the time, went walking around streets we never looked twice at, took notice, became expert geographers of our cul-de-sacs or learned the city beyond our corner. Some of us couldn't leave where we laid our heads, but kept living and breathing and baking an abundance of sourdoughs and banana breads, dove deep into the books we loved as kids, hurried in and reread folklore, and got lucky to see the sun at the park. It's not just nesting. Our search for a new soul, one that always gives back and fits to our needs. We surprised ourselves with the discovery that there is a joy in repetition. The same distinctions 1,000 times make the strongest jumper. The same joke told again can still be funny, at least to me. And the same days over and over, still a life worth laughing with. Waking up next to the same face every day was a blessing. In hopeless times, we built a home unlike any other, and we found it at home. Thank you so much. I think we're going to go back to David.
Thank you so much, Catherine. That was absolutely brilliant. And thank you so much for coming out from your nice warm house and hanging out in a cold old town courtyard. I really appreciate it. So thank you, Catherine, very much. And guys, I hope you kind of appreciate this. I guess this is us trying to give you a live stream with as much sort of interesting content as possible, but in a COVID safe kind of way. So in order to get away from all the other human beings, I've come up here onto the top of Calton Hill, and I'm really interested in thinking about this as a venue for Hidden Door. Obviously, it's been used as a venue for events before, most notably by the Beltane Society for the Beltane Fire Festival. And if we were going to do something up on Calton Hill, it couldn't be anything like that. the kind of the Beltane guys have really kind of nailed, the kind of hilltop pagan fire festival thing. We can't really beat that, but what could we do? This place it's so iconic. The monuments up here are incredible. I love the fact that they have an incredible meaning as well. A lot of them are monuments, to the Scottish Enlightenment, which is such an important movement, a movement of ideas that have literally kind of changed the world. And to kind of use this as a backdrop, for a kind of live event, I think could be really inspirational. Not only does it have iconic monuments, but it's also got vehicle access, which might seem a little bit trivial, but when it comes to live events, things like that are really kind of important, these kind of practical details. And also the fact that, well, there aren't really any neighbours here. There are some quite shady individuals I've already encountered tonight, but there's no actual neighbours. And noise complaints or noise pollution is one of the biggest problems you have to solve in events in Edinburgh, let alone in outdoor events. So there are a lot of things that we have to consider when we're thinking about using somewhere like this as a venue. And I thought to kind of discuss this further, it'd be really good to bring onto the show Hidden Door director, fellow director, and most importantly, the team leader of the venue and place team, Hazel Johnson. So let's bring Hazel Johnson onto the screen. Hi, Hazel.
Hi, David. How you keeping? Nice and warm?
Yeah, really toasty. Thank you. It's beautiful up here.
Yeah, I think I lucked out. I'm in my living room, so yeah, hopefully no tech issues.
Living rooms are so last lockdown, honestly. It's all about getting up on the hilltops for this one. So, yeah, thanks, Hazel, for kind of being part of this tonight. I wanted to kind of pick your brains and just get your perspective. I introduced you as the venue and place team leader. Do you want to say a little bit about what that means? Who are you?
Who am I? I know, I asked myself that. Well, yeah, venue and place. And that's a really important title, I guess, for the team, because it's about the venue itself that we use, so the building or the place, but also the place around it, and that encompasses community and, locale part of town. So broadly, my team and I look after all different aspects of what encompasses the venue. And that ranges from finding and securing a space, speaking with building managers or owners or developers, the local community, so the community local to the spaces we use. It involves all of the risk assessments and site survey and construction and all that good stuff, figuring out how many loos we need, bins, doing the licenses, setup, managing the volunteers, staffing the venue, event management, you name it, anything related to the venue, we do it. So it's a really long and varied list, a really varied role, and my team are fantastic. So big up to those of you out there that are actually watching. And
so we had a venue lined up, for 2020, back in 2020. Can you tell us what the venue was?
2020? No, I cannot. I am sworn to secrecy.
Why is that? Why are you still keeping it?
Well, we had a wonderful venue lined up, and we are still very much hoping that this venue is going to be an option for us in future Hidden Door festivals. So not going to give away that particular secret, but it is a ridiculously exciting venue, and very much hope that we can progress plans for that as soon as we're able.
Cool. So obviously we're looking for a new venue then instead, and that's what this kind of show is really about. And what would you say that we're kind of looking for? What is it that makes a good venue for Hidden Door?
Well, a good venue for Hidden Door, I would say for me, it's something that generally makes people go, oh my God, I've always wanted to explore that. So for us, traditionally, it's been somewhere that's hidden or previously unexplored by the majority of people in the city. So some of our spaces, like the Market Street Vaults down in 2014, our first ever festival, they were just full of junk, and no one had really looked at them as spaces before. It was a street people walked along and didn't really necessarily see them as spaces. And Kingstable Roads was a hidden courtyard that even the people that lived around it hadn't had access to for such a long time. Leith Theatre had been closed for 30 years. So all of these had sort of wow factors in their own right, even though they're very, very different. So if we're looking at an outdoor space, it's something that it's got to be a place that people go to and are excited about, and that we can really work creatively with, and that inspires audiences, performers, and artists, and volunteers as well. I mean, we have to be excited about it as much as anything else to make something happen.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting way of putting it, a space that kind of inspires. I love that. Yeah, I'm going to pretend that I thought of that. That's great. And obviously, normally we deal with buildings, but now we're trying to get outside of buildings. So how does that change things, do you think, for the way we approach it? How does it change maybe things for your team?
It changes, I suppose it changes things in terms of there's extra things to think about. So the team, as I've already mentioned, have to take all different aspects of the venue into account. And if we're looking at somewhere that's outdoors, obviously, and this has been mentioned a few times this evening already, there's an added element added element into the community engagement that we do, in that there is no option of going indoors. Everything would be outside. And what we normally do is, when we're looking for venues, is we speak to everybody surrounding the spaces and sites before we even sort of make proper plans. The event design is worked out with the local community, because it's a community event as much as it is for everybody to feel it's theirs. So as you mentioned, noise, that's something that we would very much need to take into account. But it also brings these really unusual opportunities for us that we don't normally get, in that we could have more than one space, more than one venue. So we could have bits of art all over the city that people go and find and explore. So we're not focusing our efforts or our energies on one space. So whilst it presents challenges, how do you control crowds if it's an open space? How do you ticket it? And how do you staff it? How do you keep people safe, especially when we're looking at potentially having limitations around distancing as well? We don't know what the regs will be by the time we put on an event. So all of these different aspects are thrown up, but it does present opportunities as well as challenges. So, we'll figure it out.
Hazel, I want to ask you a few more things, but I think what we'll do now is we'll go to some more live music, and we'll have a little bit of the gorgeous Hamish Hawk playing for us again, and we'll come back and drill you a little bit more. So this next song by Hamish Hawk, I think, again, he seems to be titling his songs really quite appropriately for Hidden Door and venue hunting. This song is called This, Whatever It Is, Needs Improvements. Take it away, Hamish.
It was the week we caught the sun, the thin white streak, the bikini undone. I may be meek, but I'm no nun. I may be weak, but my will is strong. I watch you walk along the beach, followed by dogs. You're the one unleashed. It's in the way you come across, it's in the waves you give off, and I can't begin to explain. But this, whatever it is, needs improvement. And it's not you, it's just the path you're walking on, broken blades of grass. Sure, I'm green, I'm full grown, still on the scene, relatively unknown. Just for you, I swim lengths, sail the bayou. How deep depends on your sense, your worldview. How about I dance right here? You can borrow her shoes. I can't begin to explain. But this, whatever it is, needs improvement. We all have demons. You can reeling, catch catfish while you're dreaming, swimming down streaming, Athens, Georgia. If it's your medication, I promise I'll be patient. If it's hallucination, forgive the fascination. If it's for the winter, we'll call it hibernation. If it's for forever, we'll call it separation. It's always been broken. It's always needed fixing. The closest to roses I'm going to get is crying with you in Lafayette, waiting on the fireflies, hanging out a couple of marionettes. Marionettes?
Amazing again, Hamish. But Hazel, let's resume our chat. Oh, it's getting quite windy up here. I've also heard apparently there are quite a few power cuts happening around Edinburgh at the moment. So if the show suddenly goes off air, this time it will be because of a power cut. But hopefully that won't happen. We're on battery power up here on Calton Hill, so we should be fine, but we might just be talking to ourselves. So, Hazel, we're looking into the unknown here. We've got a year ahead of us with so much uncertainty. I wonder if it would be useful to kind of try and shed some light on kind of how it works for us trying to organise this festival. If, when the government make their announcement on Monday, just imagine, I know they're not going to, but imagine they suddenly said, right, live events can basically just start happening from now. How would you feel? And how long would it take to kind of get Hidden Door to happen?
How would I feel? Don't know how would I feel. I think that's a really interesting question. How would I feel if we could just do events again? How does everybody feel? I mean, it's been such a long time since we've been in crowds or been around amongst other people. So actually, that's something we'll need to take into account with our event design. So even if it were hypothetically possible to get hundreds of people together in one go, what might that feel like? Anyway, that's the rabbit hole that could go down. But what was the second part of your question? I was just like, oh my God, how would I feel about that?
How long do you think it would take to put the event together?
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting one, because that's exactly what we're wrestling with at the moment. How long do we have to plan something whilst the goalposts are constantly changing for us? Ordinarily, it takes best part of a year to plan a Hidden Door festival. We finish one festival. We normally have August off, just to go and have some fun. Also, you can get very little done in August in Edinburgh anyway. And then, it just from September onwards, it's just go until we actually hold the festival, which is normally in May. So, how long's a piece of string? We can probably do it in about 6 months, but I might go grey.
But yeah, so we're I think a 6-month cycle is the kind of a thing. And I think, even if they said we could do it from tomorrow, it'd be really hard push to get anything happening, before that. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about doing an event later this year. But as I say, we're doing everything so differently that, I think we're going to have to invent all the rules again. And thinking about where we might go as well, I've obviously talked a little bit about Calton Hill and mentioned some of the other places that we visited so far on our venue hunt. But Hazel, what about you? You're the venue maestro. Can't even say that properly. Like, where would you want to go? What would be your kind of dream kind of space? A particular space or a kind of general kind of space?
I mean, you know me, give me an empty derelict building filled with pigeon poo and some overalls and I'm happy. But that's not going to happen this time round. So I think I don't have a specific place in mind. I think some of the options we're scoping at this project have huge potential for something really impactful and safe. And so if we can deliver a Hidden Door in a space which is, as I said earlier on, inspiring, that feels like Hidden Door, even though we're sort of completely reinventing the wheel, looking at an outdoor space and venue, that people can still have a bit of a exploratory sort of feel, and that the artists and contributors also get something out of. I think, if we can find something that does that, and then I'll be happy. I mean, it might be a bit of a tall order, but there's some amazing places around the city. It's just getting that balance right, I think, of being able to do something truly exciting, but also being able to do it viably, being able to do it.
Amazing. I'm cupping my ear here to try and cut out the wind. I'm also getting this voice in my ear telling me that I'm moving around too much. So I'm going to try and stand really still as I ask you this question. But apparently that makes it worse when I move around.
I can hear you all right.
Oh, thanks. This is obviously a difficult process that we're going through, and it's been so difficult over the last year or so. I don't want to moan. Actually, I do want to moan, but I'm not allowed to.
Do that offline. It's fine. I'll give you a call later.
Yeah, okay. But Hazel, you are sticking with it through thick and thin. And Hidden Door's a volunteer-run organisation. We've got a large volunteer team that themselves are sticking through it and sticking with it. Why do you do it? What's the draw?
I still enjoy it, believe it or not. After all these years, obviously the main reason that I think we do it is because eventually we all get to be together in one place and enjoy the fruits of our labour and actually have a really good time. And it's been a challenge, keeping on, as you say, with the uncertainty of, are we ever going to be able to do anything? But it's an amazing bunch of folk, and it really is the people. So the reason we do Hidden Door is because of the experience and the experiences, the people and the places. And I think whilst we can still have a hope of that being something to look forward to, then I'll stick with it. I can't imagine not doing it. Although, ask me in a few weeks' time.
Hazel, thank you so much for coming to talk to us tonight about the process. I really appreciate it. I could talk to you for hours. In fact, I probably will be talking to you for hours at our next Zoom meeting, one of the many. And so thank you for coming along. We'll say good night to you, Hazel. And what I want to do is bring on to the screen our musical maestro, Hamish Hawk. Okay, Hamish, can you hear me okay?
I can, yeah. Hi.
Oh, hi, Hamish. Hi. Sorry, I'm a little bit windy here. I don't know if you can see Fife sparkling behind me, but
I can,
that's
actually.
kind of the idea.
It's quite a nice vista you've got there.
Thanks, yes. It's Fife. It's the place of champions. And me. But I wanted to ask you a few things, Hamish. We've heard a couple of songs from your set that you recorded for us earlier, and it was a little bit of a challenge recording during the lockdown. Can you tell us a little bit about the process of recording these songs that we're watching tonight?
Well, I was invited to an icy cold archway at the foot of Leith Walk during the cold snap last week. And it was a bit of a battle, but we did get there in the end. We were braving the elements, but I think we just about got there. So
I heard it was -3, Hamish, when you were playing.
Yeah, it was. It was. I could say it was cold, but I don't think that would really get it across. I'm still wearing gloves in the shower, so it's that's how cold it was.
I want to make some really corny joke about it being a really cool performance, but I can't really think of anything better than that. So I'll leave that.
It was ice cold. That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, if you look really closely at the next clip of Hamish, you'll actually see frostbite on his fingers, and one of them drop off halfway through the song. But how's your year been, Hamish? Have you had a busy year?
Have had a busy year. Yeah. Obviously, there was an awful lot planned, and then what came obviously was quite a few postponements and a fair few cancellations. But I think one of the things that's allowed me to keep going sort of creatively, sort of bit by bit, is just not having too many expectations of how things are going to turn out. Obviously, I've found myself having to kind of roll with the punches a lot, just like everyone in the creative industries and everyone generally speaking. It's been a really difficult time for everyone, and I think it's so easy to be hard on yourself for not producing too much. And I think what I've really tried to get into my head is just whatever comes is a bonus. And have had a very busy year. The band and I have been working really, really hard to get the new album prepped for release. And over the coming weeks, there's going to be all kinds of things happening. So you're gonna be seeing more of this face, unfortunately for you.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because obviously normally you play with your band, but for this particular live show, we weren't able to do that because of the restrictions, so we had to get you to play by yourself. And I've been hearing lots of great things about this new album, Hamish, and the new sound. Do you want to tell us anything about any of the influences that had an impact on you?
Oh yeah, well, it's definitely the new album. It's definitely the most sort of comprehensive album I've ever put together, and me and the band really worked hard to make it a very sort of diverse and exciting listen. But it's definitely our most accomplished album so far. And but really, the influences are far and wide. They're a bit all over the place. There's moments of there's sort of ballady moments, and then there's really frenetic, anxious, energetic numbers, and then big high pop numbers. And it's really we thoroughly enjoyed making it. And it's the kind of album that ever since I've recorded it, I've actually because it's often difficult to listen to yourself. Listen to your music, but the greater distance I have between it is actually I'm liking it more every time I listen to it, so we can be really, really proud of it. And I think a lot of the songs deal with sort of high emotion, and I'm hoping that it will be a good soundtrack to look back on this pandemic with.
Yeah, fantastic. And you know, it's been great kind of hearing you kind of pop up on Six Music and stuff like that. And it sounds like it could be a really exciting year ahead for you. Have you been making lots of plans? Is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, we're just we're doing our best to not expect too much, but it's the next few months are looking really, really exciting for us. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be to have people listening to the music on the radio and so on, and adding it to playlists on Spotify and stuff. And it's just we're really, really happy with how it's going. But the one thing obviously that's lacking is gigs, but it's things like this, you know, that allow the music to get out there. You know, it's organizations like Hidden Door that are trying to kind of persevere in this climate. And it's you know, the creative industries are they, as I say, just like every other area, they've struggled, you know, and they need all the support they can get. And as I say, it's organizations like Hidden Door that make sure there's people gunning for all the artists and others out there, you know.
Yeah, that's so nice to hear. Thank you for saying that. And you know, it's a real pleasure to be able to kind of show your music. And you know, like everyone, we're nothing without our audience, and it's all you guys at home that make a big difference as well. So you know, check Hamish's music out and add it to your playlists and share it as much as you can, and that all helps our artists as well. All of that, every little helps, as Tesco say, weirdly. And anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. Tesco. This show is actually sponsored by Tesco. No, it's not. But I've now lost my plot of what I was going to say. I think we should probably move on to your last song, Hamish. Do you want to tell us a little bit tell us what the song's called, and maybe tell us a little bit about it before we hear it?
Yeah. This one's called Catherine Opens a Window, and it's one of the songs, one of my songs that I have sort of the closest relationship to. It means a huge amount to me, and it's a song that was very much inspired by my childhood experiences. And I would say it's almost certainly the one that fans talk to me most about, or want to hear more about where it came from and what it means and so on. So I do like to guard those details with my life. But it's what really keeps it. What I really love about it, and love the sort of life it's had, is everyone seems to have a different relationship to it, and gets different things out of it. And that it's one of the songs when people say it's affected them in some way. It's just a great feeling. It's such a treasure.
That's what we need your music for, Hamish. That's why we need it. So let's listen to that. Thank you so much, Hamish, for coming and joining us tonight for a wee chat. And let's listen to your final song, and I'll just pop back on at the end to say bye to everybody.
So you turn over, whisper into my shoulder that you're not clever enough to be sleeping with me. Now it's not about schooling, it's more about using what you've been given, what you've got, and what you've got, it's more than enough. I remember when cancer was just a constellation, a starry-eyed crustacean with nothing to say of whether you and I live or die. I don't remember Glasgow until I was 14. It's where the people I know tend to let themselves go when they've got something to bring to an end. So it's 1, 2, 3 steps in the cul-de-sac, you and me, your feet on the ground, mine hitting your back. We're running so fast that we smash into the bins and we tumble over. Catherine opens a window. Now, boys, that's not how you play. Catherine, just wait, what a peculiar thing to say. I remember Maxwell, I remember his mum too. Her hands in the cool drawer of the fridge and her man's fists on the window ledge. I remember Michaela, I remember her last name. I know she could dance, I know she could hide, and that she won a netball game. But she's gone now, sticks in the corner. There's a bus ticket in the breast pocket of her green blazer. Her mum has hung it up to dry in the airing cupboard, in the hope that she might need it this morning after just once, maybe forever again. So it's 1, 2, 3 steps in the cul-de-sac, you and me, your feet on the ground, mine hitting your back. We're running so fast that we smash into the bins and we tumble over. over, Catherine opens a window. Now, boys, that's not how you play. Catherine, just wait. Well, you know, you'll both have jobs one day.
Oh, that was absolutely amazing. Such a beautiful version of an incredible song. Thank you, Hamish. And thank you so much as well, Catherine, for performing in a windy courtyard. I want to say thank you to Vasilis and to Hazel and to everybody who's been involved in putting this show together, the hidden camera people, and of course to the behind the scenes crew. This live show is just the culmination of the kind of ongoing Venue Hunt 21 project. We've had a lot of the Hidden Door team kind of getting really stuck in and being involved with that, and I want to thank them as well. And thank all you guys. I know it's a bit cheesy, but I want to thank you guys at home too. And what really we would love is for a little bit of feedback on some of the venues that we're suggesting as part of our Venue Hunt project. If you have any opinions on the kind of venues that we're talking about or any ideas of your own, we'd love to hear it. We're going to be continuing with the Venue Hunt, and the next live show, which is in a fortnight's time, is going to be part 2 of our Venue Hunt. And you never know, we may even be able to disclose where Hidden Door is going to be later on in the year. So watch what happens on social media in the meantime. Come and join us in a fortnight's time. I think that's all that I've got to say, and I just can't believe that we actually managed to survive this live show. It's pretty cold up here, but it's been really enjoyable. So thanks everyone for watching, and I think I'll say goodbye.
The nights, the fights that keep me locked away in here. The streets, the sound, the ground I love is here. Oh, the lights still go, oh, we're fading, fading, fading from the show. Oh, the lights still glow, but we're fading, fading, fading from the show. Let's wrap it up.